Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Live tonight here on Music Marketing TV. My name's Carlo Libertini. I'm super excited to be with you. And why don't we have a little taste of what we're going to be having fun with tonight? Let's take a listen. That's right, we're going to be looking at Xhun Audio's brand new ZeroBox. It's an analog bassline synthesizer that just came out last week. And it's a lot of fun. Now, whether you've ever used an analog bassline synthesizer or not, well, we're going to cover quite a bit tonight. So to get started, we have some really good news for you. Visit the brand page here. There's some links in the description below. And Xhun Audio is giving us tonight here an amazing sale price, up to 55% off. And the dates are listed here. Now, if you're lucky enough to be watching this live with us here, and you don't have the software, well, this is an amazing incentive to get on board and dive into everything we're going to be covering here tonight. And if you're watching in the future, hopefully you still have enough time to take advantage of this amazing price. If not, you won't regret it whenever you do pick it up. All right? All right. And of course, if you have yet to subscribe, please join us here on Music Marketing TV, where you get access to hundreds, if not thousands, of pro audio tutorials. So all for free. Just sign up today and become part of our family today here on YouTube, and you won't miss out on this live stream and future ones and other videos coming up. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get started. Now, I have been having a lot of fun with this virtual analog bassline synthesizer myself. As I said before, if you're not familiar or were thinking about maybe getting into this kind of virtual instrument, this is a really amazing plugin to get started with. I've been using it now for about a week myself, and I got to tell you, really easy to use, super creative, and you actually have a lot of fun with this. What we're looking at here is the interface itself. All right, let's go back to some of the other settings. You see, I loaded up and created a session here, and I'm doing this all in Studio One, as you just saw. Now, this will work in any DAW, Pro Tools, any DAW at all that you're familiar with. I'm using Studio One because we're going to be doing some audio to MIDI stuff later, and it always works really great in Studio One. So what we're looking at here is Xhun Audio. I have it set up on 4 tracks, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each one is doing something a little bit different. And we're going to cover quite a bit here. All right, now first, I think what we should do is talk about the interface a little bit, because there's 7 parts to this, and you're going to see that some of the advantages are that it has some amazing modeling of some really vintage cool analog gear, full 64-bit processing, and it's kind of an all-in-one package where you get the analog synthesizer, you get a sequencer as well, and you have additional effects. 2 effect slots here, and the effects are bundled and included with it. And those effects could be used so creatively, and we're definitely going to cover those in a little bit too. But there's much more that I could talk about, but the best way to really experience this is to start kicking some tires. So let me solo the first track here, and let's take a listen to what we're getting started with. Now, as I mentioned before, there's 7 sections here. Now, this is a preset I created. I'm going to come up to load, and I'm going to insert a preset that I created called Clean Start. What I did is I zeroed everything out, and we're going to build a preset from scratch together. Now, starting here at the top left, we have the waveform. Now, this is where you're going to start your process of creating the kind of synth line that you want to work with. And you're going to go right here. You're going to choose anywhere between the square wave or the sawtooth wave. And I pulled up some information here because I want to keep my the language as accurate as possible. Because like I said, whether you're new to this or not, it can get really deep. All right, let's take a listen to this. So this is zeroed. I'm going to mute my drums and let's focus on this. So now when we start creating a tone that we want, we're going between a sawtooth and a wave and a square wave right here. And included with that, we have some tone shaping, if you will, parameters. So you can already see that with just a few simple turns of these virtual knobs on this modeled physical synth, we're already getting some really amazing, cool effects. And what I really appreciate about instruments like this is I'm such a geek about this stuff. It really inspires me to want to do more and get more creative. And that synth waveform section is really this whole area. Now let's move on to the tune section, because you can really, really sculpt the kind of sound you're looking for. And I should also preface this by saying that all of this could be controlled in real time by mapping it to a hardware unit. So you could actually use Xhun Audio's ZeroBox in a live situation as well as in the studio like we're doing here. So you can also tune the tone. And this gets pretty low if you're looking for some really low frequencies. Sounds so 80s, doesn't it? It's coming back. And next we're going to have a cutoff filter. I think this goes from 63 hertz to 2500 kilohertz. Let's see. It is an analog bassline synthesizer after all. I like that. And again, the cutoff is going to have its own modulation knob. Really like that. I just love this stuff. And now we're going to get into the resonance here. So these virtual oscillators are all modeled, accurately modeled after physical units. But one of the advantages with digital here, if I may say, is that not only can you get amazing accurate models of real-world analog physical gear, you could also kind of supersede that in a way and get almost like pure versions of that. But if you wanted that real kind of analog quirkiness, there's a area right here that if you select it right there, puts a little happy face sticker there. It's now going to model the quirkiness of the vintage analog gear because it was often different from unit to unit. And I really love the way they've incorporated that just by putting a big smiley face sticker right there. And, we'll experiment with some of that. I wanted to point that out because I think it's a really important feature. You can have that pristine digital, or you can get that real analog modeling of the vintage quirkiness in certain gear like that. In fact, why don't we leave it on? All right, next is the envelope mod. So we're sculpting our tone here. Let's go to the decay. And the accent's going to kind of give it a little bit more of a transient attack, if you will. Let's see. You can hear how it's more sharp there. So this is the waveform area. But I should also mention that here in the VCA section, you have smooth, and you could invert the polarity too. Smooth, when you activate that, will make things a little more smoother. And it's, the voltage controlled amplifier here being modeled as well. Now, all of these sections, these parameters in the areas we're going to be looking at here, they all do work in concert with each other. So as your settings evolve, you may want to go back and tweak something else to make it fit in, or especially to help jive with the feel you're looking for. Right now, I just want to kind of cover a lot of these parameters and show you how easy it is to start sculpting a really cool sound. So followed by the waveform here that we're creating, we also have a clock. Now this is important because you've got normal and you've got triplet here feeling. I'm going to turn on my, let's put on my pitch mode for a second. Let me go back to the beginning. Okay. Now you can see that it's also set to 16th. If I put it on 8th notes, then it's going to change the performance. So you can see here, I have it's now set to 8. Here's 16. And here's 8th. And you got a swing knob in case you want to do some vintage analog bassline synthesizer waltz music. Again, that's the swing knob parameter right here. I'll keep that one down for now. Now, in the tempo section here, external, you can actually activate this and it'll sync it to our DAW, which I have set to 115 BPM. Okay, without it, you can adjust the tempo manually with this parameter. So you could probably adjust the tempo to taste in certain scenarios if you wanted. But if I link it to my host DAW, there you go. So that's a little bit about the clock section here. You got normal, you got triplet, you have 16th notes, 8th notes, you got a swing feel, tempo, and you can lock it to your host DAW. So you created our waveform, you can set some clock timing parameters, but now comes the sequencer area. And this is really cool. If you notice here, I'm going to put this on off. And here we have our sequencer area with it set to off. And if I deactivate this gate, let me shut this off. It's just pure tone. Okay. But if I'm going to turn on the pitch mode here, KTG would be to, it's a key trigger. So if you want to trigger it externally, you could do that. You could shut it off, or you could put on pitch mode. And the steps, we have 1 through 16, which references the 1 through 16 sequencer steps down here. So for example, if I put this on 4, I could be using 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. And these are the gates, they're on and off. And you can adjust the effect of the pitch, minus 12 and plus 12 tones there. Let me put it up a little bit to about 3. Let's work with the first one. So you've got your gate, your pitch setting, and this is your octave. Green, it means it's going to stay, it's going to pull it higher an octave. Orange means it's going to lower it an octave. And let's give an example of that. There it is on. Orange would be lowering it an octave. There. And no color would be off. So if I put it back on green, and the S would stand for like slide. And A would be accent, would give it a little bit more bite. So if I turn them all on, let's bring the drums in. So in just a little bit of time together, what we did is we helped sculpt this unique tone. And again, because it's all sequential, there's a pun there, you can actually go back and adjust any one of those waveform parameters, for example, at any time. Okay, now because I acted 4, I have 4 steps, so you can go all the way up to 16. So if you wanted to turn all of these on, you could, all the way up to 16. And you can create a really vast, unlimited form of modulation here. Let's turn a couple of these on. Let's go to this one. I'll make it lower. I'll just turn the accent on. This one will go really high. Leave it green, we'll slide, and it'll change everything. And you can change all the parameters in real time. Let's bring in some more. So we've covered the waveform, the clock timing, some of the sequencer parameters. Now it gets even better. Remember, as I mentioned before, one of the advantages to this is that it also includes some really amazing effects. So here in effect slot 1, you see we have this series of effects. There's no effect, a chorus effect, flanger, tube distortion, a solid state type distortion, foldback, and a bit crusher, my favorite. And then slot number 2 is more time-based effects like delay and reverbs. So why don't we start with effect slot number 1, and I'll put in a tube distortion, and you can see it's got this virtual little tube thing here. You can bypass it too, so you can A/B your work. And let's take a listen now. Let's bring in solid state. Let's go to Big Crusher. Ready? Oh man, if that doesn't make you feel like an 80s video game, nothing will. Yeah, you gotta love these icons here. I should have worn my Space Invader shirt. Okay, let's try our chorus effect. Here's without. Here's with. And these are on the default settings. If you want to reset a parameter to default, let's say you made some changes, want to go back to default, just double click it at any time, okay? And it'll pop it right to default. Let's go back to, let's try flanger. Oh. Maybe some of you at home right now or in the future when you're tuning into this, definitely recommend referencing this video with headphones on. This is doing some amazing automatic type panning, if you will, with this flanger setting. Let's take a listen to that again. And fallback is, let's see. I believe that does something with phase inversion. So I want to play a little bit of this so we can have an experience of what each one of these effects in effect slot 1 can do. I'm going to put it on Bit Crusher for now, because that is my favorite. And in effect slot 2, let's try the delay. Oh, it sounds amazing. And next up, we've got the reverb. Let's bring the Bit Crusher in. I had to bypass because I was so focused on the effects. This is really fun virtual instrument. Let's activate the Bit Crusher now because we were listening to delay, we're listening to the reverb, and now we're going to put these two effect slots together. Bit Crusher and reverb. I'm going to pop in the tube distortion. One thing I love about these effects is that they do sound great. For example, if you really wanted to make it extra wide, I'm going to crank up the width here on the reverb. If you wanted to center the reverb, make it more mono, just bring it all the way down to 0. That effect might sound great if you're doing some panning with the virtual instrument here. But for now, I'll leave it in the middle. Let's pop in our delay here, and let's go to solid state distortion. Here's without effect slot 1. Without the transistor distortion. So you can just hear the delay again. And let's bring in the tube distortion now. There. So this is pretty cool. We have our waveform, again, clock sequencer. We talked a little about the effects and how they work, and hopefully you're having as much fun as I am. And we also activated the vintage mode with the smiley face sticker right there. And I should talk a little bit more about that. What it does is they painstakingly captured some of the unique quirkiness of some of these original analog synthesizers, because they were all very, very physical and handmade, and there was differences from unit to unit, but that also made it special and in particular. So this is a way to give not only homage, but opportunity to preserve that, if you will. So this, without the sticker, would be pure clean digital, which is great. And then with the sticker, it'll increase some uniqueness to the tone. I guess you'd have to really spent a lot of time to, trying to mine out what exactly those quirkinesses might do, because of the amazing variables these parameters can give you. And you can also change the interface here. Let's move on to the next parameter. Right now it says silver. I could change it to acid color. I like it. And there's silver. And last but not least, we should talk about some of the presets. Xhun Audio generously gives you a lot of user presets to get started with. Here's bank A. You can see 80s, sweet bass, dance bass, automated matrix, battle run, dance monolith. I love these names. Under B, let's see. Distorted, dual core. Let's try some of these. Let's go to Hyperion A. Here's without the drums. And you can scroll through the presets like this. Oh, nice. Let's go to the bank C and let's do monoline D. Oh, I love that. So reminiscent of like 1950s sci-fi right there. More from Hollywood. There you go. And let's see in the D section. Oh, Techno Floor A. And remember, all of these are controllable, so you can use them in live situations. Let's try this one. That sounds nice. So I definitely recommend checking out the presets when you first get started. Why? Because it can really help you to start thinking creatively and out of the box. You know, it'll expose you to some of the unique parameters and why those parameters create these different kinds of synth sounds. Because this is unlimited. You could do so much with this. And I think presets can really be a guidepost for helping you get to where tones are personally when you're ready to start building them. You could say, oh, you know, I really remember there's a preset here that I love. It was dual core bass A. And then you can modify that to taste. And when you're done, just choose save here. It'll save it to the user folder area and you can call it up at any time. Okay. And then when you want to load one, just come up here, hit load. And here's the original preset we started with. And we're back where we started. Let's go to track 2 for a second. And what I started doing here was some creative panning. You can see I've got this one in the right ear. And then this setting, I put in our left ear. Let's hear that without the drums. And you can see I don't have these linked to my host.tempo. They're kind of more of an effect, if you will. And this one, I do have connected to the host tempo, the original track 1. It's a creative way to kind of utilize the unique timing power of this. Let's bring in the drums there. Again, I recommend using headphones for this. If not, don't worry, you're all right. And in track 4, what did we have here? I think we put something in right about... Yeah, there it is right there. It comes in right about there. So we're using stereo chorus and delay effect here. And it's in vintage mode. Let's bring them all in. 4 tracks of ZeroBox here by the great folks at Xhun Audio. There. And again, you know, if you're able to take advantage of that special offer they've given us up to 55% off, it's a real bargain. So I'm hoping you can take advantage of that because, you know, I see myself using stuff like this creatively in my own productions. And one way to do that, as I mentioned earlier, to circle back, I'm using Studio One here is because of the audio to MIDI feature. I often do like to take analog waveforms like bass lines and convert them to MIDI here in Studio One, which you can now do also in other DAWs like Pro Tools, thanks to audio random access technology. If you don't know what that is, look that up. Maybe we'll do a future video on that one next. And we're able to like take analog waveforms and then trigger virtual synthesizers with them. Why don't we try that right now, actually, while we're talking about it? Let me close this session. I don't need to save that. And let's open up an audio to MIDI session right there. And friendly little sample rate check. Let's play this audio back. This is analog, real world drums and bass guitar. So what we're able to do is leverage multiple forms of technology to get this done. And we're going to use ZeroBox by Xhun Audio to really add some creative color, tone, and flair to this track. And the way I did that is here, in your DAW it might be different, but in Studio One, you could just choose the waveform, right click and choose Edit with Melodyne, for example. And what it's going to do is it's going to open that waveform here in Melodyne software. Now what you're looking at is the waveform that we have up top right here. Let's follow along. you can see that I actually took the liberty, and this is what a very important tip when you're about to do this technique using ZeroBox here in your productions. Prior to converting something to MIDI, you want to go in and clean up any little bits of audio. So as you can see, I really compartmentalize this. I just have the solid notes that I want to play. If you don't, what you can do is you can select notes and delete them. So I'm cleaning up the track before my audio to MIDI conversion. All right. And then with that in mind, all you have to do is select the track and drag it down onto an instrument track. Up here in track, I can choose create an instrument track here in Studio One, and in your DAW of choice how it works. Then under browse, just find your virtual instrument. There's ZeroBox right there. And then I drag it onto my track, and here it is. And now what we're going to hear is the bass line that we edited in Melodyne with Audio Random Access, triggering Xhun Audio's ZeroBox. Let's bring the bass guitar in with that. Let's bring in the drums now. There we go. Let me mute that one. That's awesome. Another advantage to this is you could create another instrument track like I did here, copy and paste those MIDI notes onto it, and then you could try different analog bass line settings here using ZeroBox and Xhun Audio. I often like to do this. I'll create a couple tracks, and then I'll create different kinds of textures, if you will, and then I can just solo and mute them and A/B them at will. For example, let's just try this setting here on a different track. Same MIDI, same audio to MIDI line, just different settings here in Xhun Audio ZeroBox. Let me mute the bass. There. Let's bring in both of those tracks. I'm gonna just mute the analog bass line and let's hear both of these virtual instruments. The one on ZeroBox 1 track, which is the bass line converted to MIDI, and ZeroBox 2 track. Let's make this one silver. Another reason why I like color coding these with the acid and silver is that I can now know that track 2 is on acid color profile, and track 1, track 2 is on silver, and track 3 I'll keep on acid. So if I see this one open, I'll know that I'm on track 3. And if I see this one open, I know I'm on track 2. Little things like that can help with your visual management of your DAW and your sessions. All right, let's hear just the synths together, both of them. There. All right. So that's a look into Xhun Audio's ZeroBox analog bass line synthesizer. Now, depending on when you're able to tune into this, either it's tonight with us live here on Let's Talk Live on Music Marketing TV. Please sign up, become a subscriber today so you don't miss out on these and future live streams, of course, and all the other videos we have. This is really groundbreaking. It just came out last week. So they're offering a special promotion up to 55% off. Definitely check that out. If you have ZeroBox already, I'd love to know what you think about it, what you're doing with it. So leave your creative comments below. We always love to hear from you, and we do everything we can to read all the comments. So keep them positive, keep them creative, and definitely dive right in and take advantage of that amazing sale price starting today. And I do believe, let's check that price again. So that sale's going on until the 28th. So you have some time here to download a demo and try it for yourself. And if you love it, then, I think you're making a very smart investment, because this is so much fun to use. And the effects sound great. The sequencer's easy to use. It's also bringing back the heritage of some amazing, amazing analog gear from decades past, all here at your fingertips with amazing precision, quality, and it just sounds great. Not to mention, it really inspires me to stay busy and stay creative. So my name's Carlo Libertini, everyone. Thank you for joining me here on Let's Talk Live tonight. Stay busy, stay creative, and join us next time as we do this again. Subscribe to become informed, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much.